Hello, and welcome to our lecture on jQuery, APIs, and JSON. We're going to roll a whole bunch of stuff into this lecture. I'm not going to talk a long time about each thing, so some of the things you may have to look at twice because it's kind of compressed, and you don't want to miss anything because they build from kind of tiny to big really fast. So when we talked about JavaScript, we talked about the document object model and how they're very incompatible in terms of their shapes. And so there was a bunch of libraries that came out, and we had this thing like getID, get element by ID that I kind of characterized as old school JavaScript. It was the old way we did portable stuff. But jQuery is the thing that really has solved the mess that is the browser incompatibility. Now it turns out that there was lots and lots of libraries that were being developed at the same time that were trying to become like the low-level utilities for JavaScript, and jQuery was the one that kind of won in this space. And the reason that many people think that it won is because it had the best documentation, and it still has outstanding documentation. There's a lot of JavaScript libraries that were there, and the people who wrote them could use them, but jQuery was this thing that like anybody could use. It was well enough documented, and the pattern, to the point where I'm not going to put a lot of jQuery slides in, is that they also show you just little snippets of code that you cut and paste and then adapt and make work. And so in general, if you need a way to animate the opening of a window with jQuery, you go into Google and you type animate the opening of a window with jQuery, and you will find often on the jQuery site a little 5-line snippet of code that'll give you the starting point, and then you'll adapt. So I'm not going to talk too much about that. So this is sort of some very simple jQuery. So what we do here is we are going to, in our head document, sometimes folks prefer to put this down near the end of the body, but I'll just sort of use the style of putting it in a head, and you go download a version of the jQuery library, and we're going to pull this library in. And what it does is it jacks itself into lots of the document object model, and then makes it so that this variable $sign ends up being a function name. jQuery takes over. They just picked it. Now you can actually tell jQuery to pick a different one, but $sign is the one that jQuery kind of picked. And so $sign is a function call, and document is a parameter to that function. And it returns an object, a JavaScript object, that has many methods. .ready is one of those methods. So the jQuery syntax takes a little getting used to, because this is like a function call, and then this is a method within that function that happens to be a function call that goes all the way to here. And so we tend to connect these things together, and we're also seeing the use in here of first-class functions. So the first parameter to the jQuery ready method is this function. It's actually code. Now, at a high level, what we're saying here is we are saying when the document is ready, when it's fully loaded and all the images have loaded, at that moment, please run some of our code. And we wrote this code. And we have a function, it's got 2 lines in it. One's an alert, and one says, in the console log, it says hello jQuery. And this is really common because often what you want to do is after the page is loaded, you want to sort of jack in various places and add interactive elements to pieces of the page using jQuery, and then having jQuery respond to the interactive things in that page. And we'll build stuff that looks like that. So let's go ahead and run this. By the way, you can download the code here for this set of examples on phpintro.com/code jQuery zip. I've got that all downloaded. And jQuery 01. Oops, sorry, gotta clear that so I can click. jQuery 01. And hello.php. That was the code I just showed you. Let me turn on Developer Console while I'm doing this. So I got the Developer Console. I'm gonna watch the console. I'm going to say hello.php. So what happens is this page will load. It'll run the JavaScript. It loads the jQuery library. Let's start with the network view of this. I'll hit this page, hello.php. And you'll see that my PHP request response happened. And then in that, it said, oh, go load some more JavaScript. And then in that JavaScript, it executed JavaScript and said, when the document is finished loading, call my function. And in that function, it called an alert. That's my alert. So this function happens at the end of page loading. Turns out this is important because it takes a while for the browser to get the page all put together. And if you're going to write JavaScript, it's going to start looking at pieces of the pages. It's useful. So the first thing you kind of learn in jQuery is how to trigger things that happen after the page is loaded, and that's what this ready method does. And if I look at the console, you see that there's a console message as well. And if I hit refresh, I'll clear this, and I hit refresh, you will see, out comes the alert, and the alert happens first, but we know that the page is finished loading, and then the console message comes out. And so that's how it was in the code. It did an alert, console, but this is basically saying wait until all the document is loaded. So it goes all that, and it loads all the subsidiary pieces, et cetera, et cetera. So document ready is very, very, very intelligent. So again, we use this to jack in, and we'll see some things here. So another thing we can do, for example, is jack in to the, I keep saying jack in, it's like register an event is what really is going on. And the $ here is a function. It has a parameter of window which returns an object. So the function $passin window get back jQuery object has a method of .resize. And what we're saying here is we would like to register a resize event, and we would like this code right here, from here to here, to be called whenever the screen is resized. Whenever the window is resized. The window is the part of the browser that's on the screen. Okay? And so while the page is loading, we're saying connect us up so that as resizes happen, our code is called. And there's lots and lots of things like that. So let's take a look at that one. Oh, sorry, got to turn that back. So the resize runs, and at this point, we have just registered a bit of code that we want to run on the resize event. Okay, now the way resize happens, got to move this little guy. I should have resized that all along. Okay, so the resize event is as I move this window and make it smaller and larger, and you can see my code is being called over and over and over. Let me just clear this. And now when I resize this, my code is being called because I told jQuery, please call me every time the screen resizes. Sometimes it does it while you're dragging on the resize, and sometimes it does it when you let go of the resize, but eventually my code will be informed that the page has been resized. And so I did that with this window.resize function that says, hey jQuery, call me, register this bit of code to be called when the resize happens. When the window's resized, call me. Now I wouldn't normally just print this stuff out. I might do something like resize something or show or hide something. Who knows what I want to do in this code. It just shows another pattern of jacking into a different event than the .ready, which is the ready event, which is called when the page is fully loaded. Okay. Here is another bit of jQuery, and this is a pattern called the query do. And so I'm going to have this code toggle.php. And I've got a paragraph. The paragraph goes from here to here. And I've got this spinner inside the paragraph. And I've got it set up to be hidden when the page first shows up. But I've got an ID tag on the paragraph and an ID tag on the spinner. And so then what I do is I make an A tag so that when I hit the toggle, it runs this JavaScript. And this JavaScript is jQuery. It's $, and now I pass in a string which is #spinner, and that means ID tag name spinner. Go find the ID tag name spinner, returns an object, and then I call the toggle method in that ID. So that flips the display none off and on. So I can click this toggle button, we'll see me do this in a second, as many times as I like, and then that will hide and show the spinner. Later we'll hide and show the spinner for a more useful purpose. Here's another one. Here is go find, I have another little tag called red, which says go find the paragraph tag, which is this whole tag right here, and call the method CSS and change the background color to red of the paragraph. And when I click on green, it says go find the paragraph, call the CSS method, change the background color to green. And so these are queries that look up a piece. So this is like a query. $para says grab the tag with an ID of para. So that's what that does. It's a lookup, and then you call a method on the tag, basically. You get back a jQuery object which represents the tag. Okay, so let's play with this code. Let's play with this code. So if I say toggle, well, if you do a view source, let me just do a view source here. If you do view source, you see my paragraph from here to here. You see my spinner, which has an ID of spinner, and it's currently not shown because display is none. So when I hit toggle, it's going to say, go find that, was that a span? No, it's just an image tag, but it's okay. The image tag is hidden, so it's as if it's not there. When I say toggle, go find that image tag with an ID of spinner and toggle its visibility on off. So I just toggle it on, and I can toggle it off. Toggle it on. I'm not changing the HTML at this point. I'm changing the CSS associated with the tag, and specifically this display value of the CSS. And if you recall, I've got this, when I click red, I'm going to go grab the paragraph, which is all of this actually, and I'm going to set its background color to red or green, toggling back and forth. Red, green, red, green, red, green. So none of this is a request response cycle, and none of this is really changing the document object model. We will do other things that will actually add tags and remove tags, but for now I'm just changing the CSS on tags using jQuery commands. And again, I'm just giving you the simplest of stuff. There are literally, many things you can call here. Toggle and CSS are just two of many things that you can do. You can animate, you can do this, you can set transparency. Who knows what you can do? Got to go look at the jQuery documentation. This is the notion of grabbing a bit of the HTML DOM and doing something to it. Query do syntax in jQuery. And the rest of it, just go look at the jQuery documentation. There's tons of it.